Hey guys, my name is James Walsh, and you are listening to the Wrestling Epicenter here on YouTube. I want to thank you for finding us. Please do me a favor and click that subscribe button and the notifications bell. And if you get the chance on this video, click the like button. If you do, it'll turn blue. Check it out. Also, check out WrestlingEpicenter.com for all this great content available in MP3 format, our online store that'll keep us going free and clear, daily news updates, as well as all the information from the history of professional wrestling you could possibly ever want. Check out WrestlingEpicenter.com online right now. Without any delay, let's get to your interview here on the Wrestling Epicenter.
Welcome back to the interactive interview here on WrestlingEpicenter.com, as it is now our treat to be joined on the Newsmaker line by former WCW personality, the one and only Sonny Onoo. Sonny, it's great to have you on the program.
Well, thank you for having me. It's great to be still thought about as a personality.
Well, hey, people really do remember you, and people long for those days of WCW, especially considering there's not much choice anymore in the professional wrestling industry.
Yeah, it's pretty amazing, and I think because some of the program that we were on, once in a while, I think they still do them reruns and stuff, and people still see us.
Yeah, 24/7 is one of the WWE's
right.
best strong things, and that's I think really people do get the chance to see that even though maybe WCW isn't what they want to promote because you guys beat them. I am so happy that I was just very small part of one of the great wrestling resurgence period where wrestling was a lot of fun. We were beating all the if not for nothing, we were beating all the other cable shows. So it was a great time, actually. A great time for wrestlers, and I think great time for anybody who was involved in a program. Now, you didn't originally come from a wrestling background. You came from kickboxing, did you not?
Yeah, back karate is my background,
mm-hmm.
and that's how I know Eric Bischoff from. We were both kind of starving karate guys, and Eric's, who if you can believe this, he's actually a pretty good fighter from back in old days. And we used to compete on the national circuit, and we used to just do whatever we can do in a week, so we can earn a living. But on the weekend, we can go and pay our $25 and go to all the tournaments all over the country, and either in a van or save up money for nationals and fly to the event, and then we get to fight without getting in trouble. So that was basically our goal.
And it was entirely through Bischoff that you ended up in WCW?
Yeah. Well, actually, because I'm bilingual,
mm-hmm.
I'm originally from Tokyo, so there was opportunity to rekindle some of the relationship that they had an issue with at the time. I believe after Bill Watts. Yeah,
Bill. The funny thing with Bill Watts was he had a relationship with New Japan that was in place, and for some reason he insisted on using All Japan guys.
Yeah, and that's the relationship we had to mend. And Eric had to mend that some of the issues that we had with New Japan. So I got to tag along, and next thing I knew that they needed somebody at that position to work a relationship, to massage that relationship with New Japan, and I was lucky enough to fulfill that need at that point.
Excellent. Now, you eventually did become an on-air personality, as I mentioned, and you became a manager to a lot of the New Japan superstars that were coming in that I assume helped broker come into the company. How did you enjoy actually stepping in front of the camera to become this Sonny Onoo character as opposed to being, as you were in the past, a legitimate fighter?
Well, it was tremendous fun. I mean, a lot of people who knew me from the karate world was probably had a little question mark, being a traditionalist karate competitors. And karate, there's a lot of different divisions and a lot of different, there's a competition part called the form, mm-hmm. and there's a competition part called the point fighting, which is kind of like a fencing. And, if it's a control fighting, and they stop after each hit, and they score a point. and there's a kickboxing where it's called, also back then it was known as full contact karate. Mm-hmm. So, I was lucky enough to participate in all the aspect of martial arts. And actually, there was only two other guys that one other guy I can remember who excelled in those three things, which was a national forum competition. I won aka World Championship back in, this will date me way back in 86. and I was a bantamweight, number one bantamweight from 1975 to 81. But it really dates me here. But of course, I was one of the top regionally competitive, and I'm a national point fighter. So I got to do a lot in karate world, and we had a sponsor. There was Atlantic Richfield, Transworld Oil. The same person owned it. And actually made living competing in a karate circuit for a couple of years.
Wow, that's pretty.
So that's really a one part of my life that a lot of people probably don't know me. Obviously from people who knows me from wrestling.
Now let me ask you: if the clocks were reversed and you were coming up now, and you had your body that you had 30 years ago, how would you have done? Would you have done pro wrestling, or would you maybe have entertained the idea of doing what seems to be all the rage right now, mixed martial arts?
Oh yeah, I think MMA would have been and great. I think I would love to do that. And then living in Iowa, wrestling is real big here. So yeah, and I have utmost respect for collegiate and amateur wrestling, and matter of fact, I think Eric Bischoff started taking karate because I think he blew out his knee in college. And he was a pretty good wrestler himself.
Excellent. Yeah. Well, now you were a manager to so many of the guys, Yuji Nagata, Ultimo Dragon, so many of the guys. But I got to imagine that you being, compared to the wrestlers, probably not compared to a regular guy, but compared to the wrestlers, a smaller guy, did you ever have to break out some of that karate background to protect yourself?
Well, Ernest Miller, who's just a dear friend of mine, who's known as the Cat, and actually he's got a movie coming out with Mickey Rourke, I think.
It's called The Wrestler. Yep, that looks good. He's a great karate fighter, and he still competes. Just recently, just a couple of months ago, he competed in Atlanta at the Battle of Atlanta, which is one of the national, huge national tournament. And I did ankle lock him one time. We were messing around in the locker room. So, Ernest, if you're listening, don't tell a lie. I did ankle lock you. Did he tap though?
Yeah, he tapped.
He tapped out. All right.
Oh, he tapped.
Excellent. Now, you guys seem to be, you managed a lot of guys. I mean, like I said, Sonny, you managed Yuji Nagata, Ultimo Dragon, but it never seemed like you had quite as much fun as when you were managing Ernest Miller.
Well, Ernest is, it was a whole different thing with Ernest, because when I was, managing everybody from luchadors to, to all the Japanese wrestlers, I was kind of there as their mouthpiece because they didn't speak English.
Right.
So, my role was a little different. I was still, the conniving character that I was. But with Ernest was a guy, and I certainly didn't have to speak for him, and so I was just, I was literally his sidekick, and it was great. I mean, it was a lot of fun. And like I said, obviously, somebody else thinks Ernest has what it takes, because he's actually excelling in entertainment world beyond wrestling. So, and he's a real legit guy. He's a legit fighter, and he's a he made himself and trained himself to be a pretty good wrestler, entertainer himself.
Absolutely. And one of my favorite things that you did with the Cat was, I think he was going to be wrestling Al Green, and you and the Cat both started singing an Al Green song, which I thought was pretty darn funny.
We actually had remember there was a Prince Ikea?
Yeah.
So we had this series of these things that we wanted to do. They were it was I think it was a Saturday night TV taping or something like that. We were doing it because they would let us do a lot of things. Kind of like our idea. They would let us do on Saturday night, and we could pitch ideas and they would let us do it. And we wanted to do a whole series of, me being Japanese, not understanding. So when he says they're going to wrestle, when Ernest was going to wrestle Prince, I would think oh yeah, Purple Rain, Prince. I'm a big fan of Prince. That kind of thing. We wanted to do a series of those. Al Green, of course, let's get together. And, we wanted to do a lot of fun thing, kind of goofy but fun. And, we can only do so much, we're certainly not the writers. So, but we just came up with a lot of great things. One of the great things I will tell you that I will always be appreciative was that, when we did a thing with Kaz Hayashi, when Kaz was kind of disowned by me, and he was looking for a partner, and he ended up with Perry Saturn being a partner, but Razor Ramon at the time, or he was with WWF, but he will go up to him and says, he had to explain to him that it's Miller, and of course, his thing was drinking, so he said, oh yeah, we'll have a beer with you later. We wanted to do, but a lot of those big stars at WCW was willing to participate in our little bit. Nobody ever said we didn't want to do that. I mean, people may, have a lot of negative things to say at the time, but my experience, it was like a riding a big tsunami, surf that we got to do a lot of fun thing with. And I'm sure there was difficulty at their level that I probably, wasn't involved in, but really, to this day, I still talk to Kevin Nash, and, a lot of those guys. I just talked to Goldberg a couple of days ago, so, these are all good guys that I got to be friend with and had a good relationship with.
Now, you don't have to get into this, but you just mentioned Perry Saturn, and part of the reason I actually gave you a call is that Terry Reynolds was on our show a couple months ago, and she's looking to desperately try to get in contact with Saturn. And what do you know? What's going on with Saturn?
Well, a few years ago, Perry, we were great. We are, but I have not heard from Perry for a good year and a half. Perry was in a difficult situation. All the money he made, whatever the situation was, and I only know, one side of the story, but he, and I don't know how this happened, but, he ended up losing his home, and it was a real weird deal, because, I got him a job with New Japan after WWF, and whatever the reason was, he lost that gig. And actually, we were traveling. He actually really gotten in financial difficulties, and called me one day to wire him some money. And then he told me the whole story of what kind of position he was in. And so, actually, I flew him up here, gave him a truck and a trailer, and he drove back to Atlanta and grabbed all his stuff and came back up, and he lived up here for about, almost 2 years.
Wow.
And, he had some more difficulties, and, he moved, last I heard was he was, in Minnesota, and teaching some wrestling to some, I think he's actually doing teaching amateur wrestling.
Oh, really?
Some kids, yeah.
Hey, that's pretty cool. Hopefully he's doing all right.
Yeah, me too. I have not seen him for a while, but he's one of the genuinely a nice person. He's probably way too nice for his own good. And I think that's why he probably got in a lot of those positions. He trusted, some people that he probably shouldn't have.
Now, let me ask you this. You can tell me that you can't go into it at all, but, it seemed like right when the cat got injured, you were off TV, and it seemed like then you never came back. And reading over it, seems like you maybe were released towards the end of '99. Then, of course, a lot of people know that you were involved in a lawsuit against WCW. What was the grounds of the lawsuit, and how did it turn out?
Well, the basic issue was they settled the lawsuit, but the gist of the lawsuit was this, that I think that's when Vince Russo came in the picture, and Vince Russo made a public statement, actually, on WCW Live, actually, on one of the internet shows.
Yeah, I remember that, yeah.
And that he wasn't going to use, and I won't use the term he used, but he wasn't going to use the Japanese nor any foreigners or any Mexicans. That he was he's from America, and he's the only one wants America on the show. And at that point, I just signed a 2-year deal. I mean, just like week before.
Oh. Yeah.
So, then, then the problem came is when they terminated my contract. So, if they would have kept paying me, I guess I couldn't have said nothing. I could have just sat home. And that's what they used to do with a lot of those guys.
Oh, yeah.
And I think that's where they miscalculated, I mean, I was in office, so I knew what a lot of the in and out, and what kind of dealing was in an office, and what kind of environment we were at. But more than anything else, this not so much as discrimination part. I mean, that was obviously one part of my lawsuit. The biggest part of my lawsuit, I think, is that many wrestlers, and I don't know, I never worked for WWF. I don't know how their scheduling. I don't know how their employment, independent contract issues are. I haven't any of those. But that was the biggest. I think one of the points that was always feared by the company was that they treated wrestler as an employee, but yet they classified him as an independent contractor, and therefore they never received any benefits of any kind.
I'm pretty sure that's unfortunately the way that a lot of them work, that you are basically an independent contractor. They're not going to benefit you in any way. You're kind of on your own. But
if you're an independent contractor, you should be able to work anywhere.
Hey, fair point. Which kind of defeats the purpose of the contracts to begin with.
That is the purpose of an independent contractor. Just like when you hire a plumber.
Exactly, and that's probably, that defeats the purpose of the contracts, and the contracts only came about probably when you were working in the office of WCW because of what would happen with the Monday Night Wars. Mm-hmm. Because Lex Luger, started off Nitro, walking out off WWE TV, running to WCW TV, and that pretty much was the beginning of the contracts.
But if you're an independent contractor, then he should be able to work any way he wants. You can't suddenly tell your plumbers where he can work and where he can't.
Exactly. Well,
and more than anything else, it was a matter of giving the wrestlers the benefits, and everything from healthcare to and that was a big issue, I think.
Now, you mentioned they settled, but I got to tell you, this is the truth. My co-host, who could not be part of the interview, having a bit of a tough time himself at the moment, when I mentioned we were having you on, he's like, uh-oh. And I said, well, why? And he's like, oh, because, there's this stigma that comes along with those guys who did press the lawsuit, and I don't think it's really fair. And nothing against him, because obviously we only know what we get told, but do you think that maybe you were presented in a bad light to make people think that, oh, you're the bad guys for suing?
Well, it's just a matter of being fair. I didn't sue just for my half. I did sue for a fact that company did not provide employee status. Because the benefit to save them money. And my lawsuit consists of in behalf of all the wrestlers. So, and it would definitely benefit all of them. But I feel, I sleep well at night doing what I did, and it's unfortunate. It's unfortunate in a way that as you know, in wrestling industry, many of them doesn't get any counseling, and after they lose their job or after they get let go, or after their injuries. And I can't tell you about many problems that a lot of wrestlers have after the employment.
Absolutely, and there was a woman who tried to do something about it recently, and I'm not sure how it turned out for her, but her idea was basically to try to open a non-profit organization for retired wrestlers, and I'm not sure how it turned out for her, but it would be a hell of an idea.
Well, like I said, it's. I mean, we all make our own deals, but as my experience has been that, you really should take care of some of the people who had issue with. I mean, if you look at the industry in itself, if you get hurt, if you're in an angle and you get hurt,
mm-hmm.
I mean, as a quote unquote independent contractor, order for me to keep going is to keep performing.
Yep.
So if I'm hurt and I can't perform,
mm-hmm.
I'm out of the picture.
Mm-hmm.
So so you keep performing,
mm-hmm.
and maybe with the aid of whether the doctor prescribed painkillers and help. So
yeah.
that's and I think that's just kind of downward spiral.
Mm. I would tend to agree with that. Now, on maybe an upper note, you're going to be appearing January 10th in New Jersey. You're making a public appearance with Ernest the Cat Miller as part of a KNS event. How do you like the idea of getting back out in front of the fans and maybe getting to shake a few of your fans' hands and sign a few autographs?
It's really pretty amazing that even to this day, I mean, I just power up television for you. I'm not my gimmick, and I'm at the I own a small car dealership in town, and people come out for autographs. So it's pretty amazing, how much people remember. Far as to answer your question, it's a lot of fun. When I go to Japan, I go to shows, and people still remember me, and I sign a few autographs, and people they're just great. Wrestling fans in general are great anyway. Cause a lot of guys are smart, so they know what the deal is, and they kind of fan almost act the part anyway.
Right.
I never. There was a couple of scary moments, but most of the time it was I mean, they were almost acting the part as I was.
I think one of the scary moments might have been riding out on a Japanese bike at Sturgis. They seemed like they wanted to kill you.
Yes, because they weren't really wrestling fans. They were bikers.
Exactly.
They're taking the first sledgehammer to Madusa's bike was dead silence.
Oh, yeah.
Get a tape and listen. There was a dead silence when I took that sledgehammer.
Exactly. Well, we're going to let you go in just a second, but if you don't mind, can we close out with just a few word associations? What I'll basically do is I'll ask you a name. If you have a story you'd like to share about the person, that's fine. If you just want to give a one-word response, that's fine too.
Sure.
All right. How about, I mentioned him a couple times during the interview, how about the Ultimo Dragon?
It's a real shame that his arm, his career was cut short with the botch surgery on his arm. He's one of the genuinely nicest guys, very smart. We stay in touch, and of course I think he still does his promotion at Toriumon or Dragon Gym and now Calpan in Mexico, and we get to do, and we continue to do some stuff together. And he shouldn't wear the mask. He's one of the handsome guys as far as Japanese goes.
Really?
Yeah.
I would never really thought of that. How about Madusa?
Debbie and I still talk. He was doing a monster truck for a while, mm-hmm. She's a little crazy. And I think she got crazy when she went to Japan and worked with All Japan Women. But Yeah, she's all these people I still get a call once in a while. I call them and stay in touch. And I think the last time I talked to her, I think she was once again available.
Oh, really? Because I know she had married a football player at one point.
Yeah, but I think she worked out a pretty handsome sum out of that.
Ooh, well, hey, I gotta tell you, one of my former co-hosts had a big thing for her. So if I get a hold of him, maybe there you go. Yeah, not a bad deal there.
Yeah.
All right, there's a couple more I got for you. How about your former, I guess, boss, but more so friend, Eric Bischoff?
He's got that the Hulk Hogan Celebrity, Wrestling, Championship Wrestling, and along with Jimmy Hart, and I think I haven't heard about the rating, but it's certainly entertaining.
It's doing okay. I think it did about a 0.4 rating, which for CMT is pretty darn good. Right.
So Eric constantly amazes me, his resilience, and he keeps moving and he keeps putting stuff together. So and we stay in touch. We do generally talk about. We don't talk about karate and we don't talk about wrestling anymore. We usually talk about where the good sushi restaurant is. Yeah, he generally called me from sushi bar.
Does he really? Okay.
What a good Toro he's having.
Oh, really good. Yeah, I actually spoke to Eric just a few weeks ago trying to get him to come back on the show, had him on, and Jimmy Hart's coming up on Thursday, and we just had from that Hulk Hogan Celebrity Championship Wrestling show, we just had Frank Stallone on, so we're pretty well entrenched in that program at the moment.
Oh, good.
And there's talk, and there's always rumors, and part of it's because Hulk Hogan is such a good self-promoter that he knows how to get people talking about him. There's always talk that Hogan and Bischoff might pair up and try their hand at a wrestling organization together. If that ever happened, would you be Sonny Onoo again? Would you get back in front of the camera, maybe as a manager, or maybe would you kind of done with it?
Well, no. If the Eric and I go back, so far that it's kind of scary. But if Eric or certainly the big man Hulkster ever asked me, if they thought that I could help them, and I would do everything I can to help their program.
Really?
In any way, shape, or form.
All right. Well, we'll finish up in just a moment. But did you want to mention the name of your business? Maybe we can get people over there to buy a car or something like that for you.
No, you know what? I have a company. It's called X, letter X, T as in Tom, C, auto sales, and it's in Mason City, Iowa. And I love it here. But my passion right now at the moment is amateur wrestling. People that works at my place are JUCO national champion. We have a North Iowa area community college down here that has a couple national champions. I have actually 3 JUCO national champions, and so I have those guys working for me. And my 12-year-old wrestles, and
got a chance to speak to him a little earlier, I think.
Oh yeah. So every weekend I'm usually, you won't find me at the dealership. You're gonna find me in some gymnasium, some sweaty gymnasium. Watching kids wrestle.
Excellent. And did you say you're helping train them, or you just?
Well, we do. I help them a little bit. We have a little club that the junior high school club that just travels and go to meets and. That's what I do half the time anymore. So, but it's a lot of fun for me, and certainly gives me a lot of joy. And one of the funniest things is when I go to these events, a lot of wrestling tournaments like AAU, state and stuff like that. There's they always pull me to the microphone, and they always have a similar radio show like yours, and they love to talk about the old WCW days.
Excellent. Final question, and this is kind of the downer note that unfortunately we've had to ask the guests that we've had on for the past year and a half. Your opinion, you mentioned about the drugs that need to be taken to deal with injuries and things like that. Going into somebody I know you knew, Chris Benoit, what did you think, being the personality that you were in wrestling and being part of the office and knowing what you know, what did you think of the way, personally, the media really took an uneducated view of wrestling and just ran it into the ground right after the Chris Benoit thing.
One of the things that really bothered me is that, you know, I mean, I got called from, you know, a lot of the cable network and stuff like that because, you know, Eddie, Chris, Jericho, you know, Dragon, all those guys, Malenko, they all came from New Japan program that we, you know, that I was involved in.
Mm-hmm.
You know, a lot of those guys worked for New Japan Pro Wrestling, and you know, it was Eric's foresight that he brought in those cruiserweight because they were so exciting to watch. You know, they were on a different pace and made WCW a little different because we really did promote, you know, that light heavyweight division, you know, or cruiserweight division or whatever.
And Vince had tried it. People don't remember, but Vince had tried it, and he didn't put any effort into it whatsoever. I mean, he just kind of stuck on the seashell.
Right. You know, and I don't know why, or, you know, people always talked about that's a big man's, you know, league and that kind of thing. But you know, I will tell you the work ethic of those guys, and training they do, and you know, it's phenomenal. It's beyond, you know, beyond anything else. I mean, wrestlers, you know, the collegiate wrestlers is probably the best conditioned athletes, and those guys were in the same league as those guys, you know, with the collegiate wrestlers. The technique they performed, and it did bother me that the press, not knowing, and some of the people got on the bandwagon, and you know, it was certainly, you know, it wasn't my place to talk about why it happened or second guess why it happened because I wasn't there. I don't know. But you know, Chris Benoit I knew was, I mean, kind gentleman who you know, loved his kid, and that's how I choose to remember him, and you know, and that's how I know him. So, I mean, that's how I knew him. So, you know, it's unfortunate. I don't know what happened.
Right. I don't think we'll ever know what happened, but I think what bothered me as a wrestling fan was you had those cable news shows that you spoke of. What would bother me is that they would all of a sudden claim to be big wrestling fans, and then when you actually watch them talk about it, they'd be showing a picture of, say, the British Bulldog on the screen, and they'd be calling him Road Warrior Hawk. So it was clear they didn't really know anything. They just were using it for ratings. Right.
And you know, and it's easy to react, you know, to an unfortunate situation, and obviously, but look, you know, it was just a bad thing happens to people every day, and unfortunately, you know, it happened to Chris. But you know, like I said, it's you know, Chris was a great guy. And I you know, frankly, I don't know what played into what happened, but the Chris I knew was real kind and loving person.
Absolutely. Well, I got to tell you, Sonny, it was great to have you on the program. We really do appreciate you taking the time. And once again, I hope people will check out the K&S event coming up in January. KNSWrestling.com is the website for those who want to find out more info. And thank you again for coming by, and we really do appreciate it.
Well, thanks for having me, and thank all you wrestling fans for remembering me, and I continually and hope to see, you know, and I think professional wrestling will come back. You know, it's kind of come in cycles, just like, you know, everything else. So you know, maybe a couple more years yet, but I think Eric has something going, and you know, he'll give me a buzz, and you may see me on the tube again.
Hey, well, hopefully so. We really do look forward to it. Thanks so much, man. Is there anything? If there's anything else we can ever do for you, just give us a call. We are always here for you.
Okay, I appreciate it.
All right. Before I let you go, can I ask for one little favor?
Sure.
All right. We're not recording right now, but we will be in a second. If it's okay with you, would you mind giving us a little liner, basically saying this is Sonny Onoo, and you're listening to the interactive interview?
Okay.
All right. I'll count you down. Pretty easy to remember, so it should be in 5, 4, 3, 2.
Hey, this is Sonny Onoo, and you're listening to Inactive Interview.
All right. Thanks so much, sir. You take care of yourself, and I really do appreciate it.
All right. Thanks.
Have a great night, sir. Thank you.
All right. You too. Bye-bye.
Take care. Bye-bye.